Hi, I'm Hannah Morrow, and this is my Pecha Kucha on policy leadership, specifically education policy. Education policy involves decisions made in education on local, state, and national levels. As I learned in a college course on public policy, we can define policy as the sum of government activities that have an influence on the lives of citizens. Everybody can make and influence policy, besides politicians. Policy relies on the voices of experts and community stakeholders to be made and relevant for those who it is affecting. Advocates are able to bring important topics to the forefront of the agenda where policy is made and decided upon. Right now, I've seen that a lot of education policy is decided without the input of teachers or by leaders or politicians who have no classroom experience. Currently, our Secretary of Education is somebody who, previous to this post, has had very little experience with public education and sends her own students to private schools. But teachers are the ones who are with students every day and who can tell what our students really need in order to be successful. Teachers are the ones who day in and day out are fighting and advocating for our students in every classroom and making sure they get what they need in order to have the best opportunities in life. So why don't we hear more teachers' voices in policy? I've been passionate about education policy ever since high school. It's exactly why I joined Teach for America and why I wanted to be a teacher in the first place. At my magnet high school, I witnessed and experienced a lot of inequity between students of different race, social class, gender, etc. I want to be a part of the movement that enacts equitable policies that allow all children to reach their greatest potential. I can tell that right now, the way policy is, not every child is being reached and not every child is reaching their greatest potential. And we need leaders like myself and others who have real, relevant classroom experience to be leading the way. The National Education Association has a document called Teacher Leadership Institute that goes over the different leadership competencies that they believe teacher leaders should have. In their section on policy leadership, they say that good education policy needs to be shaped by accomplished teacher leaders, and they need to step into school, district, state, and even national levels. They further divide policy leadership into 4 different subsets. The first being implementation, where the goal is to implement equitable policy and to lead collaboration on creating this equitable policy amongst other teacher leaders and stakeholders. The second is advocacy, where the goal is to inspire group action based on data and reflective practices. Third is policymaking, where the goal is to drive policy change for school improvement and student rights. And finally, but not least, is policy engagement and relationships, where they say that teacher leaders need to support others and build coalitions for relevant policy change. The NEA says that teacher leaders can either be emerging, developing, performing, or transforming in these 4 different categories. Ultimately, the goal is to be a transformative teacher leader, but it can take time and effort to build up to that stage. So it is my goal to experience growth in this area of leadership, policy leadership, since it is something that I have been passionate about for a very long time and ultimately is my reason for getting into education in the first place. I hope that I'm able to become a better policy leader in the classroom and eventually outside of the classroom, moving on to either a state or national level. My targeted goals for growth involve researching and analyzing policy with colleagues in TFA and at my school, to become a greater advocate using action like reaching out to representatives or getting involved with different advocacy groups, to get involved with local education policy, and to connect with policymakers. I plan to make growth in this first goal by being strategic about my relationships and opportunities presented as being a core member in Teach for America. As a Teach for America core member, I am surrounded by like-minded people who also wish to make a change in education policy for the betterment of our students. To further this, I will seek out chances to get more involved with the connections TFA offers. I will try to take advantage of the different people we are connected with at our monthly meetings and to reach out to those in the TFA organization who are already doing the kind of work that I wish to be involved with. I know I can also leverage my friendships with fellow teachers to figure out how we can better as a group enact change. Make strides towards my second goal. I plan to undergo action like calling my representatives to push them to support certain education initiatives that I know are out and up for vote or that require support from our legislators. I also plan to get involved with organizations like the North Carolina Association of Educators, a group that is dedicated towards bettering the field for teachers and for our students. The North Carolina Association of Educators also partakes in the Red for Ed rallies that happen in May each year, where they push for lawmakers to create better conditions for teachers and better schools for our students. That can also help me further my third goal, where I get involved with more local politics. North Carolina Association of Educators has many different local chapters, enabling me to get connected with educators within my own county and figure out what I can do to be a better teacher leader within my own community and within my own school. Speaking to that, I hope to get involved with Guilford County Schools at a school board level as well, and perhaps attend a meeting or get to know some of the school board members in order to talk to them and see what kinds of changes could be happening in my own county. For example, there's currently a multi-billion-dollar proposal to improve our schools that I could look into. Every action I listed could also help me with my final goal of connecting with policymakers. Getting more involved with TFA and with the NCAE and with Guilford County gives me an up-close proximity to the people who are most involved with education policy currently. Getting more involved gets me closer to them and therefore connecting me with these important policymakers and stakeholders. All in all, I greatly hope that in this following year, I can become both a better teacher and teacher leader in policy, getting closer to my ultimate goal of becoming a greater advocate for education policy and all the students, not only in my local community, but in my state and in my country.